Ford under pressure all day after announcing price cuts to the Ford F-150 Lightning.
The automotive landscape is undergoing a seismic transformation. Electric vehicles, stringent government mandates, and rapidly evolving consumer preferences are rewriting the rules of the road, challenging century-old automotive giants to either adapt or risk fading into irrelevance. At the heart of this high-stakes shift stands Ford Motor Company, a brand that once symbolized American ingenuity and industrial might. Today, however, Ford finds itself at a pivotal crossroads. The company is battling not just for market share, but for its future identity in a world that is leaving the past behind at breakneck speed. Nowhere is this struggle more evident than in the troubling saga of the Ford F-150 Lightning, the company's much-hyped all-electric pickup truck. Once heralded as a bold leap into the electrified future, the F-150 Lightning is now at the center of an unfolding crisis. Ford's recent, dramatic decision to slash prices on this model isn't just about staying competitive. It's a desperate maneuver in the face of plummeting demand and exploding inventory levels. Sales have reportedly collapsed by as much as 70%, and dealerships across North America are overflowing with unsold units. What was once Ford's EV crown jewel has quickly become a cautionary tale of overconfidence, miscalculated demand, and strategic drift. In this video, we're going to take a hard look at the deeper story behind these headlines. What's driving Ford's unraveling sales? Why is the F-150 Lightning no longer flying off the lots? And how did a company that was once at the forefront of the electric vehicle transition get caught so flat-footed? We'll unpack 5 critical themes to fully understand the implications of Ford's current crisis. 1. The F-150 Lightning's sharp price cuts and their implications. 2. Mounting inventory and crumbling consumer confidence. 3. Ford's outdated reliance on combustion in a rapidly electrifying market. 4. Competitor adaptability, with Jeep as a case study. 5. Internal conflict over the Bronco and Ford's strategic misalignment. Each of these elements paints a picture of a company not only under pressure, but potentially veering off course at a time when precision and foresight are more crucial than ever. This isn't just a story about one truck or one bad quarter. This is about whether Ford, one of the most iconic names in global automotive history, still has the strategic clarity and resilience to weather the storm. So if you're wondering whether Ford can fix this before it's too late, or if we're witnessing the beginning of a long decline, let's dive in. 1. F-150 Lightning price cuts. Desperation in plain sight. When the F-150 Lightning was launched, it was celebrated as a historic leap forward, a bold EV version of America's best-selling vehicle for decades. But now, just a few years into its production cycle, Ford has been forced to slash prices on the Lightning by thousands of dollars. What's driving this pricing strategy? A sudden shift in consumer sentiment. Electric vehicles, while gaining traction globally, have started to hit a plateau in certain markets, particularly in North America. Range anxiety, lack of charging infrastructure, and rising insurance costs have all contributed to a more cautious buyer sentiment. Ford, in its eagerness to capture the EV wave, may have overestimated short-term demand for a full-size electric pickup. The F-150 Lightning, once starting above $60,000, now sees deep discounts, especially on higher trims like the Lariat and Platinum. This signals a major correction in pricing expectations and speaks to deeper issues. The demand isn't just soft, it's nearly evaporated. Dealers in the US and Canada have reported dozens of unsold units sitting for months, even with new incentives applied. Dealer reaction: disillusionment and financial strain. Dealers, the backbone of Ford's retail network, are expressing frustration. Many stocked up on Lightning models in anticipation of continued momentum, only to be left with depreciating assets. Price drops also devalue existing inventory, creating financial strain and souring relationships between Ford and its dealers. One Ontario dealer confided to an industry journalist, "We were told this was the future. We bet big on these trucks, and now we're losing money every day they sit unsold." Brand reputation, a premium product turned bargain bin. When a vehicle sees steep discounts so early in its life cycle, consumers begin to question its value, resale value plummets, and brand equity takes a hit. For the F-150 Lightning, the perception of being a premium, future-forward vehicle is rapidly eroding. The result is a dangerous feedback loop. Fewer buyers, more inventory, deeper discounts. Overflowing inventory, and the loss of confidence. Perhaps even more alarming than the price cuts is the mountain of unsold trucks clogging Ford's lots. This glut is not limited to EVs. The issue extends across various models, particularly in Canada where stricter EV mandates have reshaped market behavior. A Canadian disconnect: government mandates versus Ford's offerings. The Canadian government, under pressure to meet climate targets, has aggressively pushed for an EV-dominated future. Provincial and federal rebates have encouraged EV purchases while simultaneously penalizing gas guzzlers through carbon taxes and disincentives. In this context, Ford's combustion-heavy inventory feels out of place. Ford's failure to pivot more quickly to affordable, practical EVs for the average Canadian buyer, who is wary of both high prices and cold-weather EV performance, has left showrooms full of trucks that aren't aligned with consumer expectations. Dealer lots as ghost towns. Drone footage from multiple Ford lots across the US and Canada paints a grim picture. Row upon row of unsold F-150s, Broncos, and Lightnings. Some lots reportedly have over 150 days of supply, far above the industry norm of 60. The financial pressure is intensifying, with dealers slashing local prices further just to move inventory. Lost trust among loyal buyers. Longtime Ford fans are beginning to look elsewhere. Anecdotal evidence from online forums and social media suggests even loyalists are feeling alienated, burned by fluctuating prices, delayed production schedules, and what many perceive as a lack of cohesive direction. First it was the Bronco delays, then they pushed EVs. Now they're slashing prices. I don't know what Ford stands for anymore, one longtime F-150 owner posted on Reddit. 3. The EV shift. Ford's combustion bet looks increasingly risky. The world is changing. While the EV market has slowed slightly in 2024 to 2025, the global trend is still electrification. Automakers that have built future-proof platforms and established strong EV pipelines are reaping rewards. Ford, despite early enthusiasm, appears to have overcommitted to legacy powertrains and underinvested in true next-gen platforms. Battery supply issues and platform confusion. Unlike rivals such as Tesla, Hyundai, and even GM with its Ultium platform, Ford's EV architecture feels cobbled together. The Lightning shares components with combustion F-150s, which made for a faster rollout but limited optimization. This decision now haunts the company. Consumers can tell the difference. Ford's plans for dedicated EV platforms like the TE1 have faced internal delays, and its battery supply agreements lag behind industry leaders. With competitors improving range, charge times, and performance, Ford's EVs are losing their edge quickly. Regulatory pressures are closing in. In both the US and Canada, regulations around fuel efficiency and emissions are tightening. This is placing even more strain on Ford's combustion-heavy lineup. Without a full portfolio of efficient EVs or hybrids, Ford risks facing fines or falling short of compliance in key markets. Number 4. Jeep and others outplay Ford. The competition adapts while Ford stumbles. Its rivals have executed smarter, more agile strategies. Jeep, a brand once heavily reliant on gas-guzzling SUVs, has pivoted toward electrification without alienating its core audience. The result? Stable pricing, strong dealer confidence, and growing market share. Jeep case study in controlled evolution. Rather than an all-out EV assault, Jeep focused on hybridization. The Wrangler 4xe and Grand Cherokee 4xe combine electric power with traditional engines, offering consumers the best of both worlds. These models have struck a chord, with Jeep even surpassing Ford in some regional electrified SUV sales. Jeep's approach allowed the company to meet emission regulations without flooding the market with untested EVs or slashing prices. The result is a brand that feels relevant without the instability Ford is now facing. GM, Toyota, and Hyundai. Strategic diversification. General Motors, long seen as slow to modernize, is now gaining ground with its Ultium-based EVs. Toyota, though initially skeptical of EVs, has accelerated its hybrid rollout and teased upcoming solid-state battery technology. Hyundai and Kia, meanwhile, have stunned critics with high-quality, stylish EVs like the Ioniq 5 and EV6. Compared to these companies, Ford looks reactive, not proactive. Price cuts and production pauses don't instill confidence. Instead, they signal panic. Number 5. The Bronco conundrum, Ford's internal struggle revealed. Nowhere is Ford's strategic confusion more visible than in its handling of the Bronco. A triumphant return in 2021, the Bronco quickly became a cultural icon again. But today, discussions inside Ford suggest uncertainty about whether to pause production to restore exclusivity or continue ramping up to move excess stock. Overexposure and brand fatigue, Ford capitalized on Bronco hype with numerous trims and limited editions. But over time, too many versions, rising prices, and supply chain delays eroded the brand's luster. Customers who waited months or years for their Bronco now see the same models discounted on lots. Exclusivity once defined the Bronco's appeal. Now, oversaturation is its enemy. Production strategy missteps, Ford's hesitation to commit to a clear path, whether to double down on Bronco output or strategically limit supply, speaks to deeper leadership rifts. Internal sources say there's tension between executives who want to restore prestige through scarcity and those who see the Bronco as a volume play needed to offset declining F-150 margins. This indecision reflects a larger problem, a company struggling to define its identity in a rapidly changing market. What's next for Ford? Ford's immediate future depends on a few critical decisions. 1. Rebuild dealer relationships. Ford must engage in honest dialogue with its dealers and offer more financial flexibility. Helping them offload unsold inventory, even at a loss, may be necessary to preserve long-term trust. 2. Rethink EV strategy. Rather than just slashing prices, Ford must reconsider the entire value proposition of its EVs. Are they optimized for performance, range, and cost? Do they reflect what the average buyer wants? A true rethink of platform, pricing, and product planning is overdue. 3. Restore consumer confidence. Stability is key. Consistent pricing, reliable delivery, and responsive customer service can slowly rebuild Ford's reputation. The company needs to show consumers it has a steady hand at the wheel. 4. Define its brand. Is Ford a rugged truck builder, an EV pioneer, or a legacy automaker trying to reinvent itself? The company needs to pick a lane and commit. Right now, it's sending mixed messages, embracing combustion in some quarters while chasing EV headlines in others. Conclusion: can Ford bounce back? Ford's current crisis, symbolized by the deep price cuts on the F-150 Lightning and the debate over Bronco production, is more than a business hiccup. It's a strategic reckoning. The automaker faces a future where old models of success no longer apply, where consumers are more informed and where competitors are more agile. To recover, Ford must learn from its missteps and adapt faster. The EV revolution won't wait, and neither will customers. Only by regaining control of its pricing, production, and identity can Ford hope to re-establish itself as a leader, not a laggard, in the next era of automotive innovation.